Hey, and welcome to the Rhythm Changes podcast. I'm your host, Will Chernoff, and this episode is sponsored by 12th Street Sound. New clients at this recording studio in New Westminster can get 10% off your next booking with Anthony Senarini, the owner and engineer at 12th Street Sound. You can find that offer on a special page made just for listeners of this show at 12thstreet.ca/RCP. So go to 12thstreet.ca/RCP, 12thst.ca/RCP to learn more today.
I spent like a year going out to stuff and listening to get a sense of what everyone is doing around the city because I wanted to be different from that. You know what I mean?
All right. We are back. We're into the monthly sort of stage after the show announcement I made at the beginning of this month of October 2022, and we have a special in-person episode for you today. This episode does contain explicit language, but I think that's okay, so I'm changing the show to designate that it is an explicit show, and you're in for a long and deep conversation with a very exciting young Vancouver jazz musician. That's up next on the Rhythm Changes podcast. Our guest today is a saxophone player who I met this year. I've had the pleasure of getting to know a little bit, but there's still a lot that I don't know about him, even though he's a poster. He goes to a lot of gigs. He's performing on October 28th at Frankie's After Dark with Lisa K. Miller on piano and James Meager on bass. I'm excited to go out to that. That's on the gig list at Rhythm Changes right now. So please welcome to the podcast, Gordy Li.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You gave me water. I was pretty happy with that.
Sometimes that's all you need. How was your voyage over from Richmond on the 410 to get here?
It's always so fucking bad, man.
Yeah.
Like, from anywhere, I mean, unless you live right next to the Canada line, you have to take a bus there. And every bus in Richmond comes 30 minutes at a time. It's terrible. You gotta, I took a bus to the subway, take the subway, and that'll take me downtown, and then usually to get to East Van, I had to take another bus out of that. But since you live in New West, I only had to take another bus, like, from Richmond Center over to New West and then walk the rest of the way.
So it's not that bad. It's not as bad as going to your gigs and such. It's still bad.
The 410 evening's like just dog because it likes to explore the neighborhoods before it crosses the bridge. It's really annoying.
Yeah. Did you grow up here?
I was born here, yeah.
Yeah. In Richmond too?
In Richmond.
Yeah. Nice.
I haven't lived anywhere else.
I know around the time of recording here, you're going to Boston. You're doing some stuff over there. Have you been there before?
When you say it like that, now I can't pretend that I already went.
Yeah, we tried to work out before we started recording some way to time travel and like pretend that Gordy had already gone. But
it's for Feven's birthday.
Yeah.
It's on the same night of it. I think it's on the 9th is their birthday. Fuck.
October 9th.
I didn't remember the exact day because it's like the entire month is their birthday. Milton Nascimeno's playing somewhere in Boston. I forgot the venue too, but we're gonna go see him. It's gonna be
wow.
That's the entire point of the trip. Among other things, we're gonna do other stuff too.
I was listening to a track by him in the car with Rory. He was driving us out to a gig that I covered last weekend, and we heard a good track of his. I forgot what it was called, but I liked it.
I forgot what it was. I played one in this like street band that my other friend Marcello was running. He was like, I think we played Maria or something. It's the one like da 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 da. You know, it's like
okay.
Milton.
Oh, we're gonna call it up. All right. Let's do it. Let's check.
Is it
coming off of YouTube, Spotify?
Yeah, it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. But like we did we like kind of read the chart off of it. That's really the only Milton song I know because I have neglected in my listening, I guess.
I wanted to talk to you about your 2-night gig at Tyrant? Because I heard quite a bit about that going into it.
Oh, shit.
People anticipating it, people getting excited. And I heard a fair bit about it afterwards as well. Even though I didn't make it down there, it definitely seemed to be a real big event. So I'm just wondering what you can share about putting that together, how it went, the Li Kidane adventure at Tyrant on that weekend in September.
I'm pulling up so much on my phone right now to remember the timeline, because
You're being your own producer. You're pulling up
it was
everything you need.
we didn't have that idea until like after like late August, I think. Before that, it was it was like in June. I asked Daniel that I wanted to do like a second quintet kind of thing, and he was all for it. And it wasn't until like way later that I found out that Fave also hit him up at around that time, and he gave her. We ended up choosing days that were right next to each other, and our bands were pretty much the same as well. It was like the only difference was the bass player, and we couldn't find a keys player too, and we ended up. I pitched the idea of combining the night, and then she thought about Rush Hour, or she'd been saying Rush Hour to me for a while.
So Rush Hour was like the title or the concept. It was like part of the billing, right?
Yeah, we didn't watch Rush Hour, but yeah.
Oh, like the movie. So it wasn't an intentional thing on the movie. Is that what you mean?
Oh, it wasn't. Well, we knew about the movie. We just never watched it.
Oh, I see. So you're referencing it even though you hadn't, in fact.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, yeah.
It was Chris Tucker, right? Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
I thought it was Eddie Murphy and Jackie Chan. And then I said that.
Oh, I see. So you kind
during
of revealed
the show, it was
that you didn't really, you hadn't really checked it out. Oh,
no,
that's
we
funny.
told everyone that we hadn't watched it, and then I got the name wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, because I remember hearing about it. I didn't know about the Rush Hour angle. I saw you post about that kind of as it was coming up. But I didn't realize that it came together so organically, right? That it was like you were coming in with two different gigs and then you ended up merging as you approached it. Yeah.
And I think she was going to do electric stuff for most of her one. And then mine was going to be and then mine was mainly thinking about second quintet. And I mean, for most of the things I've led, the one thing I've led, I mean, there was like I tried to separate it with mostly acoustic first set, and then second set I plugged some things in.
Yeah.
Has been like my rudimentary concept so far. So we ended up deciding to make the second set, or like the second night, the electric one.
Yeah. Did a lot of people come to both?
More people came to the second one, I found. But the crowds were mostly different. There were some people that came to both nights.
Yeah.
But I think Rory and John, and there was like a table of 30-year-olds that... Are they 30?
Rory's 30. Can't speak for anybody else, but can confirm.
Around that, I mean, around that batch, I guess.
Yeah, cohort of people, yeah.
They had a table on the first night, and they couldn't make it out to the second one, though.
Yeah.
But the second one, there were a lot of randos. I was pretty happy about that.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Feven's high school friends came out to the second one.
Oh, that's sweet. And they're probably not all jazz people, so that's
I don't know what they are.
Who knows? Yeah.
Well, they were Langley Fine Arts people, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, there's jazz there. What was there at your school? Where did you go in Richmond, and how did you get into this thing in the first place, right? Everybody comes from such a different angle. I came from here in New West and just through the band at my high school, right? But what was it like for you in the early days, in the early years?
Unless my high school people are listening, nobody else tuning into this podcast right now is gonna know what a Steveston, London is.
Yeah.
It's a public high school in Richmond. And everybody else that I was with in high school ended up going to like they made better decisions with their careers, I think.
Oh, so they made like more kind of strict career moves or like more
they're
stable
all,
career
they're all
moves.
academic.
Yeah.
Everyone's academic. Or, I would count going into humanities as academic too. There's this one guy who like I stopped seeing him show up to school around like grade 9, who's like he's like a baker now.
Huh.
I mean, like
That's cool.
Not everyone's like not everyone went into the nerd emoji. I've seen a lot of branching out. At least like 2 people have kids now. I was like,
Yeah.
the fuck? Like,
I mean, in a couple of years you'll see more of
wild,
that. So
bro.
that's gonna get normal pretty fast.
Dude,
but
one person's like expecting another.
yeah.
She's the same age as me.
Yeah, that does happen.
Some
what-
people are in exchange.
Who did you find there, and like how'd you start playing music then?
I
if all
didn't
your
find
friends were like that?
anyone.
You didn't? Okay.
I wasn't in any of this until I was already in college. Well, there was this one time in grade 11, because for what little my band teacher knew about the scene, he still had like this poster of the high school intensive big band that they used to do at the jazz festival. I don't know if they still do it now.
Oh,
Did he still do
I
it?
remember that from back in my years as well. Still doing it now. I mean, the Jazz Fest has been in flux the last couple of years, right? So it's hard to say, but I know that some high schools came out and played at the festival, like bringing them all together
They
at
had
the festival.
that
I don't know.
stage, but it was like a you had to like audition to it and shit, and it was like, and then you would like rehearse for like a week, like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So
you did this?
yeah, I
Yeah.
recorded myself playing a bunch of scales, like in my band teacher's office. Forgot what songs I played for them.
You were playing tenor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played tenor for them, and then they sent me an email asking me to be alto 1, but I didn't. But I forgot to check my email. So like 2 weeks after that, they were like, "Yo, you have to play Barry now."
Oh.
So I took it because our school has a Barry, and I was late to every rehearsal because the thing was a fucking brick.
Did you mind playing Barry? Like,
It was
how'd you take it?
awesome.
You took it
I
okay?
mean,
Yeah,
like,
that's good.
since our school had instruments, it had the budget to have school instruments. I got to play a little bit on alto and on Barry too. Credits transferred pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like picking up a totally new thing.
Yeah.
I think it was like Bob Rebaglia. Bob
Legend.
was in it. I forgot the actual director's name though, and the name of the person who was like doing the admin stuff and giving us the shirts. But yeah, it was like it was just a thing that I did for a week, and that was the closest thing I had to being in the scene.
So before
for
that,
like
you were
2
just a band kid playing saxophone. You just played band in school for something to do.
Yeah, and I was having a pretty good time with like on the jazz side at our school. It was just a club, and I
Okay.
didn't know at the time that the teacher didn't know any history.
History of the tradition, kind of thing, like of the music. Yeah.
No, like we were just doing. There's this one night in Richmond School District where all the high school jazz ensembles come and do stuff, or like they play. I think they call it jazz night or something, and they're already shitting on us. Then they're like calling us the pop band.
Oh, I see.
They were right. I mean, they were all right. We did suit and tie, dude.
Oh, like you were dressed up for this occasion.
No, that's the song we played.
Oh my gosh, you mean like the song by Justin Timberlake?
There was a Bruno Mars one.
Yeah.
We did like an old rock song.
That's so funny.
We did Uptown Funk too.
I thought you just meant like you dressed up in suits and ties.
No, some people did.
Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't know it at the time that this shit had nothing to do with what everyone for all like the past 100 years had been playing, or like very marginally had something to do with it. It was just a good time. Or I was having a good time.
Yeah.
I wish I had known though.
That's important though. Like you got to have a good time at the beginning because you need something to get you going, right? Like you need that spark at the beginning, even if it's not the perfect situation when you're getting going. You need that to be able to get to the next thing, right?
Yeah. Like what other schools did I encounter once I started at camp? It was like A lot of people from Point Grey go, don't they?
Go where?
Like end up continuing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a sense of it right now. I mean, maybe 10 years ago I did, but who knows where everybody's at right now. Yeah,
it matters less and less.
for sure.
Like when you age.
For sure.
I just like been speculating though if I had gotten on it, I had been able to get on it sooner, where I would be, because some people get force fed this shit like by their parents as a baby, and like just being insecure about it, thinking like they are more killing than me because they got exposed to this stuff earlier and more often than I got.
Huh. I guess there's always different directions you can look from whatever your point is, wherever you feel like you are. For those kind of people, who knows if they end up continuing with it, right? Maybe they never had the same kind of enthusiasm for the first place, and so they don't have what it takes to keep carrying it forward, right? When you're young, it's hard to judge. Who knows where anybody's going to end up, right?
My personal answer is don't think about it.
Yeah.
We're too young to have that kind of control over our direction.
For sure.
At least in that time.
Yeah. I mean, even when I left CAP, I was still way too young to know where I was going to end up. So I took that approach. I didn't think about that very much, that's for sure.
So I am, for the most part, pretty good with how I ended up, or how I have ended up on the path that I am now.
Yeah. And then when you did get to university, then how did that feel? Because now you were surrounded by people who were playing this music, and you could meet these people who you collaborate with right now, right? Like that's a big change from this high school situation that you were just describing. And
for
what your
months
music
and
life
months,
was like
I
there.
didn't know shit.
Oh, for sure. That's probably, we've probably all been through that too. Yeah.
Like I knew like substantially less shit than everyone else coming in with me, just because like they knew about records and stuff.
Interesting. So yeah, you felt like you had some catching up to do.
It's so much. I was pretty antisocial my first year because I was just like finding things to listen to and like listening in class, thinking that all that stuff was like gonna really help me. For a good portion of it, it did help me.
Yeah. And then is it just kind of a natural thing of, well, you started making friends there, and then those are the people that you go out in the big, broader world outside of the university campus in the jazz community. Then you're just kind of going around with your friends, with your peers, and then you're meeting everybody and you're going to these places on the scene, so to speak. Did you start going out and being a part of that over the next couple of years after that first year where you felt like you had so much catching up to do?
Pretty much. Most of the people I met with first year I still play with now.
Who are some of those people?
Been playing with Feven and combo class since like the second term of first year.
Nice.
And haven't missed a term since.
Do you remember what it was like the first time that you were playing in a room together?
Yeah. I think we're playing Footprints.
Oh, that's cool.
We were both like pulling ideas out of our butt. And neither of us knew enough yet to realize that they weren't as special as we thought they were. But we thought they were so cool at the time. And I'm pretty sure we went through with a couple of them too. There's this thing where she like aimed her horn into my bell and played. And I thought that was so cool. But obviously, shit's whack. It's like, it don't sound good. Not in the context of like the recital that we're playing and the tunes we're doing.
So yeah, you thought that was like such an interesting thing to do at the time, but when you look back on it, you're like, oh.
People come in the first year with like ideas not tempered by discipline or history, you know?
Is that a good thing?
Too much of that temperament, maybe that is not a good thing. Because, some people get so old they don't have any ideas anymore.
Yeah. So it's an important thing. It can go sideways like a lot of stuff can, but it's good to have some of that attitude, right? Because that's how you can find yourself.
The attitude is so good. It's just that I would rather have the idea and fail than, stay the same or like find what's good and stay on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I always felt that way too, because I've had to go and find out how to do all this stuff on my own, and like how to put my own career together kind of piece by piece, right? And it's like you fail all the time, but there's no other way to do it. That's just how it goes. They don't really talk about that in more formal learning situations, even if they're like music school and things like that. They just don't. That's not what it's for. They don't talk about that.
I was lucky that Dan asked me to TA for like just big band at VSO for like half of the term, or like more like the second, like the.
Which Dan is this? Is this Dan Herzog?
It is Dan Herzog at VSO.
As opposed to Dan Dirksen at Tyrant. He was the first Dan. Yeah.
Dan Dirksen's not much of a big band guy.
No.
So that's how I got to know a whole bunch of kids who are like playing in high school now. They were doing like a session at Stong's, or like one of them set up a thing where they busk at Stong's on like Dunbar, and I got a pretty good idea of like just how they think about music, I think. And I always respected that they are eager to have ideas, and they're always into stuff of the present day. I've been kind of internally struggling with coming up with wacky ideas, but then also remaining grounded in history and like tradition, you know.
Well, that's pretty heavy. I can't fault you for struggling with that. It's not something you're going to solve. It's not something many of us are going to solve.
And I always thought of it as like tempering your ideas with history and tradition. You know what I mean?
As opposed to
just having the ideas, not knowing that it's like been done before.
Yeah. I like the thing about tempering with tradition because it's easier. This could end up being a really kind of cheesy analogy, but it's like, it's easy to warm up if you're cold, but it can be hard to like cool down if you're hot, depending on like where you are or what you're doing. And there's almost that kind of dynamic where it's like, if you've just learned to play like bebop language, or you've just come up pedagogically and like tried to learn a tradition in school and stuff, it is going to be hard to be original. But like if you're already out there and you're playing in your own style with your peers, you can make sure that you're bringing the tradition into that, and it'll work out better, right? I don't know. It's hard to say, but there's something there where it's like you can go one way and it'll work, and if you're trying to go the other way, maybe it doesn't work as well. But if you're out there and you're trying to do your thing, then maybe that's the right place to start.
Maybe onto something there. Is it harder to have all this knowledge but like be unsure how to apply it, or already have like an idea of what you want to do, but it isn't grounded in some sort of history?
Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
The former is worse, I think. The former, you're kind of stuck until you can get yourself out of that situation. The latter is just like, it's almost like the way you learn stuff, like just the way you learn stuff out in the world. But if you're in that first thing you described, you're kind of hooped until you start to find yourself and you start to find what you actually want. If you know what you want, and then you're trying to get the right materials together to do it well and to make sure that it stands up in the tradition to some extent, but just that you can deliver it well, like that's going to be really hard, because you're always going to have this sense of like, oh, I want to be here, but I'm not there yet, or I'm not there, or it's not going to sound as good as you want it to, and you're going to be struggling to try and get there. But like that's it. That's all you can do, right?
Did you know I started on piano?
No. Well, you just taking piano lessons, or
when I was like 5?
Yeah,
maybe like 6 or 4. It's the same way that most Richmond kids start.
Okay.
You know, they're fucking their Asian immigrant parents were like, they won't convince them that classical music is something important. They just make you learn piano for like reasons beyond your understanding, which was what I ended up doing for like most of before I turned 10, was going to piano lessons and doing RCM.
Oh yeah. So you did that for years.
I guess. It was like, I'm trying to remember what I got out of it, because I'm not much of a classical pianist now. I got up to like grade 10, and then I just kind of stopped because I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about classical music the right way. Kind of my own fault. I mean, I stopped around like grade 11, 12, because like I wasn't asking my teacher to write things about like how should I think about this. I was just kind of like seeing like the fugue or like the sonata on the page and like trying to play it how I wanted to hear it. You know, it was like, so it wasn't, and now I listen to like people who actually know what they're doing playing that stuff, and I know that I wouldn't ever be able to reach that, like reach what they were playing, because my heart, like I like listening to classical music, but in playing I think my heart is in a different place. It did explain why I like only liked like the post like 20th century stuff section of the RCM books and not really any of the old stuff.
Okay.
I just like playing the newer stuff. And if anything, starting on piano like helped me with my ear a lot.
Yeah.
There's one moment I think in like grade 6 where I was like trying to talk about how hard like advanced Sarnecki rudiments like the textbook is, and it turned out I didn't know what an interval was.
Okay.
I knew how to like play and hear like a fourth, fifth, and sixth, and
But you didn't know like the concept.
No,
like...
I didn't know what an interval was.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I mean, you did once you did find out what it was called, what the concept was called, then you kind of unlock it, right? Then you do.
Well, it just meant that I knew that what the English translation was.
Oh yes, there'd be that angle as well too.
I kind of feel the same way with like extensions and alterations too, and also like when you're playing changes and you shift the mode, you know what I mean? 3 major and shit, and that shit always sounds really good. I didn't know what to call it at the time, and also I couldn't really hear it either. In second year theory class, they make you like write a tune.
Okay.
I wrote like 2 tunes for second year theory and threw them both away. You're just holding on to it like that.
Well, I mean, I remember 2 tunes that I wrote for assignments. I don't remember which class or anything, but the tracks 1 and 2 of my second album are both tunes that I've been playing for 10 years that I originally wrote as assignments. I think the reason why they stuck is because they're just written on top of really standard stuff. Like the first tune is basically "Oh Lady Be Good" with one little change up. It's almost like an even more simple generic bridge on top of "Oh Lady Be Good." And other than that, it's basically the same thing. And then the other one is a blues, rhythm, bridge, and blues, AABA thing. Like the A section is the 12-bar blues and the B section is the rhythm changes. So they're both like such standard things that it's like, I guess that's why I didn't throw them out. If I tried to be more inventive with my forms, then I probably would have come up with something that I would discard. You know what I mean?
We had to write in the style of 32-bar tune with like a bridge and shit and everything. And I remember because we had office hours with Bradshaw to go over it, and he was like, and I went in and he was shitting on my tune, not like in a toxic way, but he was just pointing out to me like, "Yo, you're changing keys so often, man. The fuck?"
Constructive criticism, in a way.
Yeah, it's like, because that was stuff I heard, but what I'd learned in school was that up until that point was like fucking, you gotta cycle to get to the key you want to go.
You gotta set it up.
Yeah,
like, you gotta modulate.
You gotta set it up.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I still kept the chart of it, because like I remember seeing old charts that I made in iReal Pro 2 and realizing that it was like, that's just how I hear, like, this is really similar to how I hear changes now, but just like but I was trying to do that with the techniques that the school had taught me, which would have been good in a different context if I, like in a different writing context. Because now when I write, it's all like major 7s and susses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just go from one to another.
Because why not?
Yeah, it's like, it's not functional, but I like it when the color shifts like that. I can hold on, even if I can't hear, like even if the center is not clear.
Yeah. Is the music that you like to listen to that way too? Is that how it works?
Let me find some
of it.
I mean, right now I've been listening to a lot of breaks.
A
lot of like fucking, I've been standing Machine Girl for like the better half of this second half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I listened to Moonchild since like the second half of my second year at school. I think they like that kind of sound influenced me the most.
Yeah, that makes sense. color change, like you talked about colors changing. Yeah, I could think about that in terms of colors changing.
You heard him?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
a little bit. Sometimes I get in this bubble where it's like I only end up listening to stuff that I write about, and I hate that. I gotta make sure that I'm always, actually looking for more stuff to enjoy. It's a good problem to have. I love getting the music and listening to it and doing content about it, but that can't be it.
I charted one of the songs. It's What Shall We Do off their first album.
Were you there when I've heard Casey Thomas Burns cover that song? Did you play with her when she ever did that?
Was that Frankie's?
Yeah, because this would have been one of the first times that I heard you after we met, was at that Frankie's Fraser McPherson Jazz Fund showcase. Did you do it there? Is that where it was?
Yes.
I was there.
Yeah, that was the first time we did it. That was around the time I made that chart.
You arranged it.
Or I didn't arrange anything. I just copied anything off the video. It was off the live one.
I see.
What's your DMCA policy? Are you gonna get claimed if I play it right now?
Not at that audio quality.
Well, you can just cut this if the video shows up badly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably not going to come through very well, so that's okay. We can talk about it. We can link out to it. But that's already more music than usually comes on, so I appreciate it.
It's this live version. This live version is hella good.
That sounds a lot like what I heard off the stage at Frankie's from you guys, for sure.
It's like,
yeah.
It was we did it again on Tyrant, like Rush Hour 2, or like the second night. But it was with Michelle and not Casey.
Nice. Michelle Escudero singing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was a pretty good one too.
What about your gig at the Lido, right? We didn't even talk about that. This happened in the middle as well. You led a gig at this monthly Pass the Hat at the Lido series that Tim Reinert presents, where featuring kind of bands on the younger side of things. And you led one of the, what did you have there? A quintet?
That was a quintet too. It was, I mean, I've been hiring Francis like all the time now.
Francis Naluz?
Yeah.
To play which instrument? Play bass?
Yeah, on bass, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing different from like the Rush Hour 1 band was that we had Sue instead of Noah, because Noah is in New York now.
Yes, because by the time you guys did the Tyrant gig, he had left. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have been there. By default. Not saying you have a preference or anything, but like that would have been the move.
I think generally we were just playing some high energy stuff, I guess. I spent like a year like going out to stuff and listening to get a sense of what everyone is doing around the city, because I wanted to be different from that. You know what I mean?
You have to understand it first so that you can break free. Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, you don't. This goes back to what we were talking about before, right? Like otherwise, you don't know. You got to have that reference point to do your own thing. You have to know where you are in the context of the other people, right? That's what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So like we played like a Shib Surround thing, because Shib Surround's awesome, but people aren't out here playing him. And played a lot of Herbie stuff. I would have liked to play more Train stuff, but I sort of suspect I might only be able to do that kind of stuff in like a quartet format.
Do you need like more piano action, more of the rhythm section?
Yeah. I think I might never call a guitar player for a long time. Not for like skill issue or anything. It's just I don't hear it right now.
You're looking for. Yeah. I switched to guitar trio also because of practicality too, 3 people instead of more. But my next album's a guitar trio album. My first album was a trumpet, piano, bass, drums quartet, because...
Like, you're playing guitar?
No. Oh. Francis Henson, my friend, is playing guitar. I'm playing electric bass.
It's pretty good.
But I started with trumpet, piano, upright, and drums because I just wanted to copy the Brad Turner quartet. That's all I wanted to do at the time.
I'm not sure if I can explain why why what I hear right now has got some intensity to it, or like why I would like to be playing fiercely right now. I think it's just because like, I don't know, when I was going out and listening, I ended up hearing a lot of stuff on the cooler side.
You mean like less cool in terms of like less intense, like cool versus hot kind of thing?
I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people think I'm mad when I play like that. But like Train was mad when he played that stuff too.
And it was super intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't mad. He was just like, like a pastor on fire.
Just going hard. Yeah. That's the mood you've been in. Now that you've gone out there and you listen to stuff, this is what you want. This is what you have to say right now, sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm like a little angry about the yichting, or like the situation, because like my entire year and maybe like the year after us too, we got shafted out of like half our entire fucking degree. Kind of shit is that?
Specifically just because of COVID stuff and all the whirlwind of things over the last 2 years,
stuff.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when fill in the gaps for somebody who hasn't been paying attention or doesn't know your exact timeline at the school, like we all know the COVID timeline, but like when did you come in? When did it affect you? Where are you at now? Like what
started at 28, started in 18.
September 2018, 4 years ago.
And I think it was like second term of like 21. I started doing that. It wasn't 19, was it?
No, it would have been like the very end of the 2019, 2020 year would have been the first time that stuff would have had to change.
Yeah, I think I was in bed when they made the announcement.
Oh, like the very first kind of, shock to the system.
For the first week, I was pretty happy about it.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Because I had a couple 830s. It's pretty good.
Right. So have you graduated now?
I still have some things left to do.
I know that's always a complicated question.
It's always like
in this program. So.
I would like to finish as soon as possible. I would like to.
Did you play a
not
grad
keep
recital?
having to go up there? Yeah, my recital's done. No, my recital is basically my Lido band, except instead of Noah, it was Jordan.
So you did that first. You did that back in the spring, and then you did the Lido thing, and then you went on to do the Rush Hour thing.
Yeah. You see, a pattern is like, I did a thing, and then my keys player left, and I did another thing, and then my keys player left again.
Yeah,
it's been tough, man.
Yeah, you keep choosing the people who are on the cusp of taking a step and going somewhere else to do something else in their lives, right?
Hope they come back.
You said you've always lived here, right? I've pretty much always lived here. Do you feel called to go anywhere else? How do you feel about your future here in that sense?
Seeing the rest of Vancouver makes me feel more home in Richmond, because Vancouver does not have, like, the word I must use to describe Richmond is fob culture.
Okay, yeah.
That shit does not exist in Vancouver. There's like Chinese culture as in like Chinatown, but that's not the same.
No, because that goes back in the city of Vancouver over 100 years.
Over 100 years. We're talking like in Richmond now. There's like there's like restaurants and stuff where like they're like trying to imitate, like high end Western culture, but then they just get it so slightly wrong. Because,
there's little tells.
I think story cafes like that. I've never been, but I'm pretty sure it's like that.
I've heard about that place. I've never been to it either, but I know that some of our mutuals have played gigs there.
Yeah.
Right?
There's just like one supermarket I went to with... they have PC bangs in Richmond. And there's this one supermarket I went to with Francis and Tristan like in the summer that was like... It was weird as fuck. There was like a ball pit. There was a section that was selling like furniture, but like the wooden furniture with like carvings and shit on it. And also they were selling like the amethyst rocks that are like cut open, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm not sure if you know what I mean.
I think so.
But if you live in Richmond, you know what I mean. It's like the rock, like the purple, like the fucking hat, like the cut open amethyst rocks. And
I
also
can picture
like
something that's like this.
The statues of the 3 dudes, like one of them's bald and one of them's holding a peach and one of them's holding a stick. I don't know what they're called. I don't know the Chinese lore.
Okay.
Got Pocari Sweat, Pocky, Vita Soy.
Holding up the phone case of it.
Yeah, dude, I got Vita Soy phone case, and so many other good fucking brands like that. I'm trying to. Oh, they got meat goreng. So much ramen, and the next time I go there, I'm gonna have to write that shit down so I can remember. They got lap chung, they got duck eggs too, and there was and they got knockoff toys too. Like they had knockoff Legos.
Oh yeah,
like it wouldn't be fob culture without like shitty cheap knockoffs. and there was a ball pit.
Weird.
And like some of that stuff is like sketchy and scuffed too. In a little bit, because like, you know, a lot of stuff coming out of China is like that. But you know, that's what I don't identify with China, but like,
Well, you never lived there.
no, I've gone back like twice in my life, maybe.
I've been there once.
Yeah, but like my Chinese isn't that good, but I still identify with like that kind of scuffed Chinese culture that isn't completely from China, but it's kind of its own thing here. And doesn't really exist anywhere else in the Lower Mainland either.
No, because there's you have to have such a concentration for you to be able to see it. Yeah. So you feel at home in Richmond. You feel happy in Richmond.
I'm happy in Richmond, but musically I'd like to leave.
Yeah. Are you talking about the whole region, or are you just talking about you want to live closer to town so that you can go to gigs easier?
That would be convenient. But like, also, you know, I think I'm going to stagnate if I stay here.
And now you are talking about the Vancouver area in general, hey? Do your friends feel that way too? Not that you have to speak for them, but just talking about things that, you know, when you're playing these gigs or when you're going out to see things with your friends, is that kind of the vibe? Is that the
I don't know
feeling?
anyone that wants to cut their teeth here. Or, you know, there's some places where you can do that, but that shit's so far and few in between.
Okay, so I don't want to ask you to speak tons for other people here, but to the extent that you identify with that, I would love to hear more about that. What do you mean? Nobody wants to. You don't think anybody wants to cut their teeth here? Sees them cutting their teeth here.
I know like one player who is old now and stayed in Vancouver their whole life.
Depends what old could be a number of things, but yeah.
Most of the faculty cut their teeth somewhere else, didn't they? Or like, you know,
there's certainly there's a big thing of a lot of people who are living here now and they're Gen X and they studied in Montreal. There's a lot of those people. Just so happens.
Exactly.
Just kind of by the luck of the draw, that's what ended up happening in that kind of generation who are still active here. I think that encouraged a lot of us to go to Montreal too, or at least to go study there because they were directly telling us to do that, right?
Like people went to North Texas. People have gone to England.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Didn't hurt them to do that.
No.
So I'd like to go somewhere.
Yeah. When you finish up, like once you, whatever graduation is and whatever finishing up means.
I would like to finish up, chill and get money and then leave.
And you were talking about, oh, I hope this person comes back. Then you're coming back? Because you're talking about it in the context of people staying here and never doing that, right? But when you talk about this, you're still leaving the door open for you to come back. It's not like, oh, I want to go once I graduate and save up and go. It's not. It doesn't sound like you're saying, oh, I'm never coming back at that point. Could happen, but doesn't sound like that's like the main desire.
Yeah, I imagine the dim sum in Boston is not that good.
Not as good.
So I do have to come back.
So you'll miss certain things, yeah. Yeah. Going to Boston, that'll be interesting.
You know, it's that early 20s phase of like trying to see the world, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, when in my early 20s phase I was touring it was all in Canada, but like, you know, I got to see stuff at that point. Got to go on a couple of international tours only and in that age range. And
were you at the Emmett show? Like that was like 2 or 3 Fridays ago.
No, were you?
Like, in West Van. Yeah, I was there. You know, every time there's like somebody from that area, you know.
Like at that level.
No, from that area.
Oh, just from, okay, yeah.
But also at that level too. But
yeah,
like I went to Samara Joy too, and Joe
nice.
Ross and Joe Ross. Like during the festival.
That has been talked about as one of the, that's been talked about as probably one of the highlights of this year's festival for sure.
Which one, Samara?
Joel Ross. Well, Samara, yeah, probably as well.
Oh, dude, Samara got 2 standing ovations. That shit was good.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's not even that like their chops are insane. Cause like when I listen to like those American players, for lack of a better description of their geographical place, I guess. You know, when I hear them and like how they like sneak the language in so effortlessly into everything they play. Not even languages, just like the blues in and of itself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Makes me think, like, is it even possible to play like that without, like, living there?
It's a good question.
I don't know anymore. Because I was at a session at Julia's house, like, maybe like a month or two ago, and recalling, like, standard stuff which I hadn't been listening to, or, like, no, I do listen, but I hadn't been playing them for a little bit, and I ate shit, you know? Not in, like, that I wasn't making the changes. It didn't feel like I was speaking anything over them, you know? I was just fucking going through the motions. I hated that. I thought I was doing so bad. And I was discussing this with somebody, like, a couple weeks ago. They were like, they disagreed that I felt that I was getting, like, eating shit. And he was like, what are you talking about? I've never heard you eat shit on a standard. And it's like, oh, I guess you have different definitions of eating shit then. Because, like,
Well, they're probably right. I mean, they probably aren't listening to you with that critical perspective, right? So they wouldn't think
Maybe
of it.
not.
It wouldn't occur to them.
no,
You probably wouldn't listen that way to most of your friends either, right? So
no, yeah, you're right. It's like those players from over there's, like, playing a different language from us, even though we're all listening to the same stuff.
talking about like going to go hear Emmett Cohen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I have all the voice memos of it on my messenger, but I'm not gonna try and play them here, knowing that it's probably gonna be scuffed as fuck. But, like, sometimes I feel transcribing everything, every video, you know, because, like, transcribing every video, you know, only takes you so far. Where, like, you transcribe the entirety of, like, an Emmett's Place show, but then that means you've absorbed the language of, like, that one night of them playing. When they play like that every single day, like, when they play and listen like that every single day, I don't think that's possible to achieve here, because, like, if you play and listen every day here, which is already hard, so I guess you have to play and listen, like, maybe 2 or 3 times a week here, like, that
Like
kind
to
of
a
straight
live
ahead
gig.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, when you do that, you're absorbing the language of here.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
The language of here. Yep. Just like wherever you are, there's going to be, it's just a collection of individuals. So it's going to be a function of who those people are, right? And it's not saying that there's anything wrong with those people, but there's more people out there in the world. And so you got to go looking if you're really curious.
I think I'm just looking for the language of not here right now.
Is that this intense thing that you're talking about?
Maybe. I mean, like,
I mean, there's intense players here for sure.
yeah, I can't be the
They're-
only
yeah.
one.
Yeah. You play with them probably, you know, some of your peers, obviously Feven, right? And other older people too, right? Like there's some of that, but yeah, it would be more obvious if if like you were playing a really hyper niche genre of music or something, and it's like, oh, that's only happening in like this area of New York, or like it's like an underground scene, and it was a very specific genre of music. Then it would be so obvious that if that was so attractive to you, then you would want to go there, right?
In that case, is like, I have no choice but to go there.
Yeah.
But, like, with a language like this, where, like, so much of it is picked up from hearing it, I think relying on it is not possible to, like, listen like they do over there every day here.
No.
Even if people are uploading every day, even if Small's Life is uploading every day,
But there's certainly enough there. You know, you talk about several times a week.
there's a lot.
There's a lot there. But you're saying that's still not you're still not at the source.
Yeah, I find a lot of music comes out of your life. You know what I mean? Back to, like, that learning lines and other conventions of music, of this music at an institution only takes you so far before you gotta start just, like, shedding your life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I think about the compositions that I recorded and that I play with my bands, right? Like ultimately, sure, I'm writing melodies on changes and stuff, but I'm writing about like being a drunk 19-year-old, or I'm writing about a relationship, or I'm writing about when I went to Europe, or something like that, right? So that's what we're talking about here. That's where it comes from.
I'm not sure what I'm missing, but maybe I'll find out if I.
What you're missing? What do you mean?
It's like my instinct was to say that I am missing the same expression, like the same sort of language that they play with over in like New York. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But then I paused myself thinking that that might not be the point. Because like I could get to the same level of honest expression as they could. But after that, the sort of language that I play and the sort of things that I might write about, those are only ever gonna come from the life that I've lived, right?
Yeah, that's how I feel with my stuff for
So
sure.
I can't imitate them. The only thing I can try to do is maybe come to a closer proximity with them in hopes that, you know, that through living there, like through getting to live there for a little bit, my life can reflect the same things that maybe they have lived, or like not like the personal stuff of their life, but just like the part of your life that develops from living in a certain place.
Sure.
I think maybe that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not really looking for the chance to copy them or do what they did. You just
No.
you see how that's possible, and you're like, I want some of that for myself. I want to go on my own journey. You know, I want to.
Yeah,
make
I
sure
realized
experience
like I might start coming off that way, that I'm just trying to copy them.
No,
It's
they're
like-
not coming off that way. I'm reading that you don't, and I'm just throwing that back because I am perceiving that from you. Yeah. I think that's an admirable thing, you know. I think we should root for people who want to go out and do that. We shouldn't say, "Oh, you got to stay here." Of course not. No, if somebody feels like that, if somebody really wants to go seeking for that, no, we should encourage them to. And if they come back, then that's awesome. Then they'll have something to share, right?
Because if your music reflects your life,
Which it does.
which it does, and then people want to play like people from somewhere else, then it starts to sound like they are subconsciously like yearning to live the same way that they did over there.
Or maybe they don't even get to that level at all. Maybe they're just maybe it's all just on like the execution level. They're just thinking about like, how do I play the music the way I think it's supposed to be or something. Maybe they don't even get there. Maybe they don't even get there.
That's true. I mean, it's like since like the start of fourth year, I haven't thought very much about execution anymore. I mean, I practice.
That's good.
I practice and stuff, but like, you know, maybe I should think about execution a little bit better, a little bit more, you know.
Well, it's like there's two things. It's when you're practicing or when you're working on something, yeah. But like when you're out there, when you're at the Lido or when you're going to be at Frankie's, you know, when you're going to play this gig at Frankie's after dark, it's like, no, of course you're not going to be thinking about execution while you're there. That'd be so boring, right? Like you're not. That's not what it's about.
Yeah, it's just been a lot of, I think, shedding my life.
Yeah.
Because as much as the things about Richmond are very near and dear to me, it's not much to do there.
Yep. Very true.
Food's good.
That's a draw, but
yeah, most of the things to do in Richmond are in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Unless you go to like Alexandra Road or you go to the PC Cafe. Yeah, there's an esports stadium over there. They call it a gaming stadium.
Esports stadium.
Yeah, they do FGC tournaments like every Saturday. It's called Van City Street Battle. I don't go. I'm not that good at Guilty Gear yet. You know, they got a free weekend.
Yeah.
I forgot when, but if it's this weekend, then I can't
Then you're
play.
gonna be
Then
away.
I can't do it. Yeah, sucks.
Some point you
bad.
go check it out if you want. You know it's there. Well, you've told a unique story here, my friend. Richmond, shedding your life. These gigs you played this year couldn't have come from anybody else. So it's interesting to hear it from you.
I feel a little insecure about it because it's like it's always been on the back of the mind that they would have called artists here instead of me.
Who's they?
Most of the people that have been calling me to stuff in like past month.
Oh, you're talking about just in general, like.
I don't suspect that of Lisa though.
Okay, that you're all interested in doing this together. This was the concept. You weren't picked from a list or anything, is what you're saying.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with that. Like, for me, shout out to Stephen Edwards, the bass player.
Right?
Stephen Edwards and I, when we were coming up in high school, I just played whatever he was not available for. That was what I did. So he was out there playing with as many people as could be done, and I went to go see a lot of that stuff. And then when he couldn't make it, I got to play. So that was.
I think I had a
That's how I
similar
did it.
feeling when Evan Taylor graduated. And then I got into A band like this, and then I got into A band like the term after, and I was like, they wouldn't have looked for me if you didn't leave, man. I think the answer is don't think about it. It happened, and now you get to do all these things nice.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of stuff that it's good to not think about.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want the people to know about where you're at here?
If I had come here with a plan, maybe I would have had something that I thought about saying. I don't know. This whole time I've just been like reacting to what you say to me. I'm kind of like that with most people. So then it ends up that they don't learn very much about me.
Well, I feel like I learned a lot about you. I feel like nice. I was just reacting to everything you were saying. So maybe there's something there. Maybe that's good. I don't know. Maybe that's like when you play too. Maybe there's some analogy that you could make, but who knows?
No, I almost never play with a plan either.
Well, that's, when you're up there, that's where it gets exciting. In our kind of music, in this kind of music that we're playing and we're checking out. I really hope we get to play together some point. I don't know how or when, but that would be fun.
I've thought it that way with so many people now. It's like,
yeah, there's a long list.
I have no agency, and I have very little agency, or like in when or where I get to play, other than like throwing bottles out and hoping people find them.
Well, that's what it feels like for sure. Yeah. But people know you, so you said that to me once. I still remember that, like we kind of met as everything was opening up again. We didn't meet before this spring-ish, this kind of coming out of this winter, going into this spring. We met at Pat's. You met Vez and I at the same time. You sat down at our table, and it was Thad, one of my longest time friends in the scene, was playing. And it wasn't that time that you said this, but at some other point, I think maybe at like one of the first kind of Frankie's late shows, because like you and Feven and some of your friends were out at like Rory too, were out at like so many. You were holding it down at Frankie's After Dark, Some of you were going lots and making sure that it was in good shape over the summer. But I don't remember what I said to you, but at some point you said to me, "Oh, everybody knows who you are." You said that to me, like lots of people know who I am now. And it's like, really?
I think it was like the second time I saw you, because it was after Pads. I found out that Will was the Will Chernoff rhythm changes guy.
Oh, like when we first met, I was just some dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is how I like it, for sure. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like XQC or Tyler, You're just assumed to be known. Or at least, is how I see you now, is that you're assumed to be known.
I guess the only reason I thought of that is because you said, it feels like you're just throwing things out there and you're seeing what happens, and you feel like, you're not sure how you can consistently play or be known or something like you said. You feel like you don't have agency over that. Is that how you said it?
Not yet.
You feel like you don't have it yet. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, all I'm saying is I don't feel like that either. Like whatever it is I'm out here doing, like I don't feel like that. I feel like I'm just throwing stuff out there all the time. That's all. Same. That's okay.
It's probably a discussion of arts admin, Those are the people that like find people to play and whatever.
That's what I do for work.
Yeah, I just kind of like get called to be a sideman or maybe lead. And then that's how I can like, that is the most agency I have in choosing who I get to play with.
Agency is an interesting word because it kind of wraps together a lot of the stuff we talked about, right? Like to shed your life is to increase your agency, right?
Oh, that's true.
But that's going to have to be a chat for the next time we bump into each other at a gig, because I feel like we've landed in an interesting place here.
One day we'll play.
One day we will play, and I had a lot of fun. So thanks for coming on the show.
I think I've shouted out everyone that I slightly thought about shouting out naturally. Yeah, I did.
There you go.
And Annie.
Yeah.
We good.
All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rhythm Changes podcast. If you enjoyed it, become a member for free today at rhythmchanges.ca. If you haven't yet, that's how you get the free weekly article, which gives you a great artist, event, or recording to enjoy and share every week on Tuesday mornings. You can sign up for that right on our homepage at rhythmchanges.ca. Become a member for free today, and I will catch you again right here on the next episode of the podcast.